Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time you're watching this video. My name is Abdulatif Badedeji, the Flipped Classroom expert. I train schools and their teachers on how they can implement the Flipped Classroom to make learning more fun, engaging, and enabling for their students. And in this recorded webinar, I'm going to be showing you what the Flipped Classroom is all about, its benefit, and how it can be implemented in your school. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started. So what are the things we're going to be learning in this webinar? First, what the flipped classroom methodology is all about, differences between the traditional classroom and the flipped classroom, benefits of implementing the flipped classroom methodology to the students, teachers, and to the school. Then stages or things involved in implementing the flipped classroom. And we have some questions for reflections. So let's get into it. Are you ready? Now, the flipped classroom methodology is an approach to teaching whereby teachers give students access to teaching materials, which is usually in video form before the face-to-face classroom interaction. So what this simply means is that whenever a teacher wants to teach a particular topic, before the teacher go ahead to teach the topic, the first thing the teacher is going to do is to what? Is to create a video that is going to explain everything the teacher wants the student to learn about the topic. And then the teacher is going to give the student access to that video while they are at home to watch the video. And then after watching the video, the next day they come to class. But instead of the teacher teaching them again, no, the students have learned what they need to learn at home. And then what they just need to do is to discuss about what they have learned. If you check the picture here, the picture in this showing the video, in the traditional classroom learning approach, the learners come to the classroom based on the topic and schedule given to them. They don't know anything about the topic before. Then the instructor delivers the lecture to the classroom and provide them with the study material. Then after the class, the learners are given practice exercises or activities to enhance their learning. So which means in the traditional classroom, the learners don't know anything about what they want to teach. They only come to class with the schedule and topic. Most of them don't even know the topic. They just know that okay, we're having maths by 10 o'clock. Okay. In the classroom, the teacher is the island of the knowledge and give them all the information they need. And then after the class, they go and do homework at home. But in the flipped classroom, the learners are given study material to read and assimilate the learning content while they are at home. Then the learners in the classroom, the learners discuss the content with their peers and the instructor. Can you see that? So the students have learned at home. Now they are now discussing what they have learned. Everybody is expressing their own opinion of what they have learned from the video or from the reading materials at home in the class now. Now after the class, the learners now check and confirm their understanding and do more work and do what? Further learning activities. So this actually make the learning more fun, engaging, and enabling for them. Why? Because in the class, everyone will talk, everyone will explain what they have learned in the class, and because of this, it also increases their assimilation. There's no way you're going to forget something you talk about or something you say yourself. You can forget something what someone tells you, but something that you talk about yourself, that you explain yourself from your own understanding, you can't really forget that. All right, now let's move on. Okay, so now we're moving on to the differences between the traditional classroom and the flipped classroom. So there are five differences I have here. The first is sage on the stage versus a guide on the side, homework versus classwork, passive learners versus active learners, education of the past versus education of the future, and then Bloom taxonomy. Now let's take it one by one. Now, stage on the stage versus the guide on the side. The normal traditional classroom, the teacher is an island of knowledge. He acts like he is the island of the knowledge. He acts like he knows everything, even though he does not know everything. Okay, and so the students don't have anything to contribute to the class. The teacher only teach them do everything, every other thing, like a speaker. Okay, but in the flipped classroom, the teacher acts like a guide on the side. This means that remember that in the flipped classroom, you as a teacher will have given your student access to videos and then they will come to class. So when they come to class, you give them exercises on how to work on that particular topic to test their understanding and to apply what they have learned. While they are doing this, the teacher doesn't have any business staying at the front, explain anything again. He or she just needs to move around and see what each student is doing, see what each student is doing, and then guide them, give them any assistance that they need. Okay, so the teacher is not in the front forming island of knowledge or forming a stage on the stage, but is a guide on the side that is helping individual students to achieve, giving a tailored, well-tailored help, assistance to each student. Alright, so that's the first one. Second one, homework versus classwork. In the traditional classroom, teacher give there are two things that happens in two major things when you're dealing with learning or in education. There is acquisition of knowledge and there is the application of knowledge. Okay, so in the normal traditional classroom, the acquisition of knowledge happen in the classroom via the lecture, we can say it there, but the application of knowledge happens via homework. Okay, which means students acquire knowledge in the class, which is a very good thing, but the problem is when we ask them to apply the knowledge alone at home, where they don't have anyone to guide them, okay, where they don't have anyone to put them through. All right, but in the flipped classroom, students acquire knowledge on their own because they can read, they can watch a video and understand, they can watch videos, they can watch videos like that and understand what the person is talking about. So they can acquire the information on their own at home. And then they come to class to come and apply the knowledge where they have teachers and their peers to guide them, to assist them, to support them, to give them every assistance they need. Alright, so that's another thing. So in the traditional classroom, application of knowledge is done as homework, and then acquisition of knowledge is done as classwork. But in the flipped classroom, acquisition of knowledge is done as homework, while application of knowledge is done as what? Classwork. Let's move on. Okay, now passive learners and active learners. If you can read what is here clearly, the code says learning is not a spectacular sport. Students must talk about what they are learning, write about it, relate it to past experiences, apply it to their daily lives. They must make what they learn part of themselves. Yes, that's how learning should be. But in the traditional classroom, learners act passively. They are passive learners. Remember that in the traditional classroom, teachers are sage on the stage. So what this means is that learners sit down with their notes, and then the teacher stand up in front of the class and give them all the information without the learners contributing to any of it. But in the flipped classroom, remember that the students will have watched the video at home, so they have substantial knowledge of what they are going to be learning in the class already. So when they get to class, they are working together. The teacher is no longer a sage on the stage. Teacher is just a facilitator of learning, trying to guide them. So the students are actually the one teaching them. Okay, the students are actually the one teaching the class. They are the one, contributing to the learning activities. All right. So in the traditional classroom, students are generally passive learners. They don't talk unless you ask them questions and then they answer, and that's all. But in the flipped classroom, the students are the convener. They are the one working with the learning. They are the ones structuring the learning activities. In other words, traditional classroom is a teacher-centered method. It's teacher-centered. While the flipped classroom is a student-centered approach to teaching. All right, let's move on. Now, education of the past and education of the future. We see one of the problems that education is having at this particular moment is that we are teaching 21st century students with 19th or even 28th century method of teaching. See, the method of teaching, the lecture method of teaching, you can see from the board that we have here, lecture method of teaching is a method of teaching that was designed to fulfill or to meet the needs of people in the 19th and 20th century, which is the industrial age, where we need people need mass employment, where the government, the industry need mass employment, and they just need to teach people how to do some work, how to do things, so they have to teach them all to get a group learning. But in this century, students need education that fosters creativity, that help them develop communication skills, that help them collaborate with each other, and then that foster what creative thinking. So this type of education, the type of education that we need, that can equip our students with these things is not the traditional classroom. It's not the normal way of teaching, lecture method and all the other method of teaching. But we need an education that involve the learner actively, that foster creativity in learners. And this is the flip one. I want to say that flipped classroom is the only way to achieve this, but flipped classroom is one of the ways to actually achieve this. So if we want to prepare our students for the demand of the future of work, for the demand of the 21st century, then we have to rethink the way we educate our students. We have to rethink the way we pass across information to them. Okay, and we have to stop using 28th and 19th century method of teaching to teach what 21st century students. Now let's move on. Now Bloom taxonomy. So moving on to Bloom taxonomy. So Bloom taxonomy is simply like a hierarchy or order of difficulty of learning. Okay, so there are 6 stages of learning here that students pass through. Okay, while they are learning, we have the remember stage, the understanding, the application, the analysis, the evaluation, and the creating. So the remembering and understanding is something the student can do on their own. So this simply may involve students going acquisition of knowledge. So this involves students going through the knowledge, the materials, we teach them, and then they acquire the information. They know what they need to know. All right, but the problem with the traditional classroom is that in the traditional classroom, teachers don't have time to cover all these 6 taxonomies. The common thing they do is the remembering and understanding. The teacher come to class and give notes to students and then explain what the note is about. That's all. They don't get to the point where they guide students on how they can apply this, how they can analyze and relate it to their environment, how they can evaluate this knowledge and weigh it, think critically about it, and how they can create solutions, how they can apply the information, okay, into bringing out new solutions. All right, but in the flipped classroom, these things are divided into 2. So we have remember that the teachers give students access to videos, to the teaching materials. So by so doing, at home, the students have access to access the two bottom parts, which is the remembering and the understanding. Because students have access to the materials, they watch the video, they understand what they need to understand, they assimilate the information, they can divine the concept, and they know the basic concept about it. When they come to class, they start discussing about what they have learned, start analyzing the situation, seeing how they can apply it to their own unique environment, evaluate. You see, they will have discussions like debate, arguments about, okay, which one is better. Why is 1 plus 1 equals to 2? Why is 2 plus 4 equals to 4? Why is the earth rotating around the sun? They do all these arguments. Okay, so they apply the knowledge in class, they analyze it, they evaluate what they have learned, and then they create new facts and new solutions. They come across ideas they discover new ideas on their own. Okay, so with this now, it's very, very evident that the method of teaching, okay, that equip our students with all they need to learn, okay, even based on the Bloom taxonomy, is a flipped classroom and not the traditional classroom. Why? Because the traditional classroom in most cases only focus on 2 out of 6, which is the understanding and remembering, and it's not actually the teacher's fault, but there's no time. Okay, you give students notes and you explain the note, before you know, 40 minutes, 1 hour is over. So they don't have the time to teach them on how to apply. But when we flip it, remember, flipping means what? When you turn things upside down. So we are giving students access to the teaching materials at home because they can learn it on their own. So we want them to learn it on their own. And then we are now using the class time, okay, to do things they can learn on their own. Alright? So now let's move on. So benefits of implementing the flipped classroom. So there are benefits to students, there are benefits to teachers, and schools also have their own benefits. The flipped classroom also benefits schools on its own. So let's take it one by one. Now, benefit to students. The first one is the development of 21st century skills. So as I mentioned earlier, that the education of the 21st century is an education that fosters what? Creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. So these are the 4 C's of education. And any education we are having, we are as educators, as teachers, as school owners, we are expected to design our education in a way that is going to help our students to develop these 21st century skills, because it's very, very important. They are skills that without them, students are going to find it very difficult to survive, not to even thrive in the future, okay, in the future of work. So in the future, students must know how to be able to communicate their ideas, how to think critically, how to come up with different ideas, innovation,
and how to be able to collaborate with other people. So by implementing the flipped classroom, how do you get to achieve this? Students have watched video on their own. When they come to class, they express these things in their own view, in their own opinion. That's what communication, that helps them to build more confidence in speaking out, in talking about what they have learned. Collaboration, by employing group activities, by putting them in groups and asking them to work together, you're developing in them spirit of teamwork. So they learn to work with each other, they learn to work together cooperatively to achieve a common goal. Critical thinking, by watching a video at home, they have enough time to think critically, to analyze this fact and relate it to their own environment. Okay, and then creativity, they can come up with different ideas about, okay, what is this? Because when you tell them, okay, watch the video, when you come to class, you come and tell me what you learn from your own idea. So they have to think critically, they have to be creative and come up with different ideas that will not be the same with their peers. Okay, so that's actually foster what? Creativity. And by implementing the flipped classroom, we equip our students, we give them the chance and opportunity to actually develop this 21st century skills at very early age. Let's move on. So we have our independent learning skills. By giving students videos to watch at home, they develop that independent learning skills, because now they can learn on their own, develop the discipline, the skills to be able to learn on their own, self-learning. So one of the skills that everyone must have in this 21st century is the ability to learn on their own, to be able to learn, to be able to, we call it self-education, to be able to educate themselves on their own. So by giving them materials on their own, we are building in them this love for learning. So they learn on their own, they watch the video on their own. If there is anything they don't understand, they can quickly research and do more, browse on the internet and get the information. So develop learning, self-learning on their own, and then also improve the engagement. Remember that when students watch the video at home and they come to class, they are the one talking, so they tend to engage more with each other. It makes learning more fun for them, because they know they're very eager to come to school. They want to talk about what they have learned. Okay, and then absenteeism. The advantage of implementing the flipped classroom to students is that whenever a student is absent in school, because you are giving them videos to watch, okay, so they, even if the student is not able to come to school, maybe due to some reason, a student is sick at home, he or she will also have access to the video to watch at home. So at least the student will have basic understanding of what they are talking about in class. The only thing the student will miss out is that classroom activity where they are engaging and working together. Alright, so now let's move on. What are the benefits to teachers? Content can be reused. Like this, for example, now this is a webinar. I'm working on this video now. This video can be reused and reused. I can give it access to thousands of people. Okay, and then 6 months later, I can still put it out and give it to people. Alright, so that's it. So when the teacher creates a video on, let's say, fraction, or let's say culture, okay, so far the information is still accurate. Just I can use it over and over and over again. Now, more time for individual guidance. Remember that in the flipped classroom, the teachers are guides on the side. So by giving students access to videos at home and then coming to class for them to now come and apply what they have learned, then the teachers have more time, okay, to work with students individually. Okay, go through, check around what each student is doing, and then support them, give them the necessary support. Maybe the student they're doing quadratic equation, and the students are trying to solve the quadratic formula. Check and go on and see which student is getting it, which student is not getting it, and correct the students that need help in any way. Alright, less time to cover basic information. As I said, the basic information that students need to know, they can learn it on their own. So by giving them videos to watch, they learn this thing on their own, okay, at home, and then the teachers can only give them what they can learn on their own, and which is the application of the knowledge. How can they apply it in their own environment? How can they relate it, okay, to their environment? Now, more engaging classroom. You agree with me that one of the things that, at least one of the best things a teacher can ask for, is an engaging student, where the teacher is even eager to come to class, because the students are going to engage with him or her. So by implementing flipped classroom, class becomes very engaging, very interesting. The teacher cannot feel bored. Likewise, the student can also feel bored. Everyone is very interested in the learning. Everyone work together in the learning process. Now, what are the benefits of the flipped classroom? to the school. First is that increasing student population, increasing student population. So as a school, when you implement the flipped classroom and you give students videos to watch at home, just give students videos to watch at home, and they're watching the video, and a friend is coming, what are you doing? I'm watching video. And then the parents start saying, oh, there's improvement in the way in the way my children talk, in the way my children behave, in the academic performance of my children. Guess what will happen? They will start talking to it about their friends. They start talking to their friend about it, and before you know it, your parents are going to become the ambassador of your school. Students will become ambassador of your school. They'll be the one talking about what? About your school. And before you know it, students mostly are going to come to your school. Yeah, that's just how it works. Just like you, when you use a particular product and it's very good, what do? You recommend it to your friends, to other people that you know. So when you implement the flipped classroom and the parent are seeing the results, they are seeing the impact in their children, what do? They become your fan. They start talking about to every other student. And before you know it, they bring their friend will bring their own friends, and that's how it works. Right now, insurance against school closure. What do I mean by insurance against school closure? You're wondering, what does insurance have to do with flipped classroom? Yes, remember that few years ago, it's now a few years ago, that we have the COVID-19 outbreak, and then schools are closed down. Now imagine if you have been implementing the flipped classroom where your students are used to getting access to video. Will you have any problem? No, you don't have any problem. But what you just need to do is tell your teacher to keep creating the videos, send it to their students, they watch it, and then you can have like a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet meeting where you can now engage them. And even if you're not engaging them, you know that even with the video, it's enough. At least we'll do something. So the student will not just stay at home doing nothing, playing around, but they are still what? Learning. And that's it. And that's another thing. So when most schools are closed down and your students are still having access to education, to information, what do you think? Let's say if I'm a parent, and my student is busy watching my children is busy watching video, and one of my friend come to the house where he's bring his own child, maybe to come and play with my child, and he said, my child is busy learning. So your own child is still learning in this pandemic, in this where schools are closed, and what do you think will happen? They want to tap into it, or they want to, okay, let me it is that I also register my students in your school, so that in your child's school, so that my children can also be learning. So that's how it works. Now, improved quality of teaching and learning. So the flipped classroom is a proven method of teaching that's been proven. It's a method of teaching that has been proven to improve teaching and learning. Apart from that, the students get engaged more. When students have access to videos, they watch the video, they have control over their learning, they can watch the video over and over. So if they don't get it the first time, they don't get it the second time, they watch it again, they don't get it the third time, they can watch and watch again. And when they get to class, they can easily ask questions about what they are yet to understand. And the teacher can now help them in that areas. So what do you think? It boosts their academic performance, and not just their academic performance, but they now know more. And when they know more and they learn this thing in depth, what do you think? Is there any exam that they're going to do and fail? No. They do national competition, they are going to work, they're going to perform very well, because now they don't just understand something by theory, they understand it in depth, they know how they can apply it. So even without their notes, they will still be able to tell you many things, because now it's something it's something that, just like what this man was telling us the other time. Okay, see, learning is not a spectator sport. Students must talk about what they're learning, write about it, relate it to their past, to past experiences, apply it in their daily lives, and they must make what they have learned, what they learned, part of themselves. So that's just it. So when students that watch video and discuss about it in class, it becomes part of them. Okay, and they can't forget. They can't. Alright, then more engaging classroom. I've explained that before. Students classroom become more engaging for both students and for teachers. So students love learning. So students, when your classroom is very engaging, now, so students participate actively in class. Now, enabling environment for students, yes, it helps them develop necessary skills. Just as I've explained the other time, 21st century skills. So students and this can be one of your own, or unique selling points. Okay, because you know that you are implementing a flipped classroom, so there's no outsider going to come to your class and then they are going to feel shy. They are going to lack confidence about talking about things. Okay, because now they talk every day about things they are learning, so they develop their confidence for speaking. Okay, they can easily express their own idea, so it becomes, so the classroom is an enabling environment. And when you implement the flipped classroom, there is no stupid idea. There is no, because students are expressing their own opinion, so it enable them to speak out. It will keep them, it give them that confidence, it raise their confidence level to be able to express their own opinion. Okay, and then another thing is that it makes students love learning. So because students know, they know what they're going to expect in what they're going to expect in class, what they're going to have access to in school, they will always like to come to school. Even that Saturday they will feel like, auntie, can't we have class on Saturday too? So that's how implement the flipped classroom, so it make learning more enjoyable for students. Okay, now let's move on. Now implementing the flipped classroom, so we have so there are three things I'm going to be talking about in this. Now the first is three things you need to implement the flipped classroom. So to implement the flipped classroom, you need at least three things. The first one is you need to embrace the idea just and understand how the flipped classroom works. So just as how I've been explaining this now, by now you should understand how the flipped classroom work. Okay, and in more in the subsequent slide, I'm still going to explain how you can implement it in your school, and that's what we're actually explaining here. So for you to implement the flipped classroom, you must embrace the idea first. Okay, you must believe in the idea that, okay, what we have learned about the flipped classroom, you must know, okay, is it actually true? You must believe that it's true and it's actually possible to achieve all that. And then you must understand how it works. Embracing the idea is not enough, you must know how it works, so that, because you are still going to have to sell the idea to parents, to teachers, and to every other person, every other stakeholder in your school. Now you need a smartphone, laptop, or a tablet. Okay, because teachers are going to need smartphone to be creating the videos. Students also will need smartphone. So in this case, not necessarily their own, but their parents' own is enough. Okay, now skills and knowledge of implementing the flipped classroom. When implementing the flipped classroom, there are major skills that your teachers need to know how to do. They need to possess, and this includes creating of videos, effective ways of sharing the videos with their students, how to evaluate their students. There are some of the skills are like that. So teachers also need to know to have these skills for them to be able to effectively implement the flipped classroom. And this takes us to what the four things you must do to implement the flipped classroom in your school. The first one, as I've said earlier, embrace the idea. It's very, very important. It's worth repeating over and over again. You have to embrace the idea. I can be here talking to you about this because I've seen the impact and I've embraced the idea, and that's why I've make it a mission, a commitment to keep telling others, to keep training people and teachers and schools on how they can implement it. So the same thing for you. The first thing to implement the flipped classroom in your school, the first thing you must do is to embrace the idea. The second thing, remember, you need your teachers and you yourself need to possess some skills. So you have to train your teachers. Teachers must know how to create videos, not just one type of video, but different types of video. They must know how to effectively share this video with students. And then the last thing, they must inform. The third one is that you must inform and involve your parents. Okay, so the parents of the students need to be informed about what you're doing. Okay, because students are going to be using their phone to watch videos, so they need to know. If possible, you can have a PTA meeting and explain to them on, okay, this is how we want our learning to be now. And also remember, you have to sell the idea to them, and that's why it's very important that you yourself have embraced the idea, because only after you have embraced the idea that you can sell the idea. All right, now educate your students. It's very, very important that students also know, all of us, all these stakeholders, you, the teachers, the parents, and the students, we are human beings, and it's just natural that we are all resistant to changes. Even yourself, how many times how many, oh, how many times have you heard about the flipped classroom, and what have you done about it? So that's it. So we are all resistant about what changes. So your students also inclusive. You have to educate them and let them know why you are considering implementing this in your school, and the advantages it is for them, and how it's going to make their learning more fun, engaging, and enabling. All right. So that's the four things you must do to implement the flip or classroom. Now, five stages involved in implementing the flipped classroom. So you have trained your teachers, your parents are aware and informed, and your students have been educated on this. Now you now want to start implementing the flipped classroom. So there are 5 stages every teacher must go through. The first thing, which is a normal thing every teacher must do and expected to do, is that plan your lesson. Teachers are expected to plan their what? Lesson. So you have to plan your lesson. You have to draw. You want to create a video, particular video. You have to for those that in the movie industry, we call it script writing. You just need to also write their script, or we can call it lesson planning. Okay, so you plan your lesson. You know the objective. What are the objectives? What are the things your student must be able to know, and be able to do after watching the video? And then part of planning the lesson is that you must make use of pictures. Okay, so you have to get necessary pictures. When creating videos, you have to use pictures. Okay, just like you said that I make use of some pictures while I'm working on this, just to what? Pass across the information. Alright, so you also need to work on just also need to make use of pictures, and then more importantly, videos need to be very interesting. So teachers need to employ the power of storytelling. Teachers must learn how to tell stories. This is part of the planning your lesson. So when you want to plan your lesson, even in normal classroom, just need to have like stories, analogies that they can use to drive their point home. Alright, now the next step is creating videos. So there are different types of video teachers can create. So we have the PowerPoint presentation video. Something like this is a PowerPoint presentation video that contains pictures, text, and the teacher explaining what's there. We have a whiteboard recording videos. We have a whiteboard animation video, text animation video. There are many like that. Okay, then after creating the video, the next thing is for teachers to effectively share the video. And please, you have to be very conscious of this. Most teachers make the mistake of sharing videos on WhatsApp. No, WhatsApp is not meant for sharing videos. For 2 reasons. No, for 3 reasons rather. First reason is that WhatsApp is meant for chatting. So if I'm giving access to video, when students are watching videos on WhatsApp, the problem is that there will be distraction. Okay. Now the second reason is that WhatsApp does not support video that much. So there's a limit to the length of video you can send, or the size of the video you can send. And so when you send a video of like 10 minutes, WhatsApp can reduce it to 2 minutes or 3 minutes because of the size. Okay, and the last thing is the quality of video. So when you share video through WhatsApp, it reduces the quality. So that means you must employ other means of sharing video. And 2 major ways that I always recommend is you can make use of Google Drive, or you can even make use of YouTube. So you can also upload videos on YouTube just like every other person, and that will even boost your school image, because now you can boast of you have a YouTube channel. You can easily direct people to go to your YouTube channel and learn. Okay, and learn from it. And before you know it, it's going to increase your perception. Okay, your perceived value as a school. All right, so the next thing is, when you share the video, that means you're giving access to the video, you're giving students access to the video. But does it end there? No. Also need to evaluate student understanding. So after giving them the video, you need to give them quiz, like online quiz that they can have access to, and then they can evaluate their understanding of the video. So if students have watched video on culture now, what do you do as a teacher? You create a quiz of like 10 to 15 or 5 to 10 questions to ask them to evaluate what they have learned and how much they have understand what they have learned from the video. And one advantage for this is that by giving them access to the quiz and then answering the quiz from your own end, you can see what they have gotten, the question they have got right and the one they get wrong, and that can give you an idea of what to prepare for the class. And this becomes to engage with your students. The flipped classroom doesn't end with evaluating your students. You have to also plan your in-class time, because now you have given students your videos to watch. Now they know what to watch. They know what the topics are about already. They know almost all they need to know. So we have to also plan. Okay, when they come to class, what are we going to do? Are they going to be doing experiment? For practical subject like chemistry, biology, physics. When you give them video, you can say, okay, now we're going to be doing some experiments. Okay, on this particular video. What they have watched on the video, okay, it can be discussion. Okay, we want to discuss on it, like something like English, politics, or social studies, or civic education. You can give them video and then everyone will come and discuss about it. Okay, demonstration, experiment, group work. Okay, so you have to plan all this less all this, so that you know that you don't just come to class and then be thinking of, okay, what can I do, how can I every student apply this. No, you have to plan it, and it's very very important. And that's why when you evaluate your student, it gives you an idea of, okay, what do I plan, which part of this topic is the student still finding difficult to understand, which of it did they understand very well now, and which of it do I need to explain, elaborate more on. Right? And that's the 5 stages of implementing the flip classroom. Now, when is the best time to start working on the flipped classroom? Start working on implementing the flipped classroom in your school. It is what? Now. The best time is now. Okay, depending on the time you're watching this video, actually this particular time that I'm recording this video is toward the end of second term. And now let me give you this strategy to effectively implement the flipped classroom, okay, in your school. So you want to start, this is towards the end of second term. The best time for you to implement the flipped classroom is to start implementing the flipped classroom is during the holiday. Okay, so during the holiday, before the holiday, engage with your parents and tell them that during the holiday we want to be giving our students videos to watch, so that we can engage them during the holiday period. And then what do? You start giving them the video. It can be twice a week. Okay, by giving them access to the video, you start watching it, they are really getting it, they are answering quizzes, and it's very very engaging for them. They are liking it already. By the time you get to class, by the time you resume, you won't even be the one. Just the parents will want it to continue. The students outside enjoying it already, they want it to continue, and then you can now start implementing the other parts of the flipped classroom. Okay, so because as I said earlier, human beings are generally and naturally resistant to changes. So by implementing on a small scale during the holiday period, parents, students are like, and even teachers, they are used to it already. Okay, and then by the time you start implementing it in the large scale in the classroom, there won't be any resistance again. Right, so can you now say that the best time to start implementing flipped classroom is now? Another thing you have to know is that even if you want to start implementing flipped classroom tomorrow, remember that you still need to have the skill. You need to learn how to create the videos, how to share it with your student. So you don't postpone, you don't wait for third time to come that you want to implement the flipped classroom before you start learning how. Okay, and as a flipped classroom expert, remember that's what I do. I train teachers and schools on how they can implement the flipped classroom in and out of in their class. I have a class, a training, a 7 days intensive training called the Flipped Classroom Bootcamp. Okay, where you're going to learn how to create 4 different types of video, 2 effective ways for you to share your videos, how to evaluate your student understanding by creating online quizzes, okay, and different other things that you're going to learn. So if you're interested in that, you can click on the link on the description of the video. Click on the link, okay, to send me a message, and then you're going to get the details of how to join the training. Okay, as a school, also as a school owner, you can also invite us to. We also train schools physically. We can come down to your school and have a 1 or 2 days training with your teachers, where we give them everything they need to know, and then they enjoy that physical interaction. Okay, and also as a school, if you can, you might want to also have an online training that is specially designed for you, where instead of you joining the group coaching, the training is going to be tailored to your to unique condition of your school, and then this training is going to be exclusively for you and your teachers alone. So whichever one of this package you want to go for, you can easily send me a message, okay, or click on the link in the description to actually send me a message and get the details of the video of the training. Thank you. So before we go, reflection time. So from what you have learned from the flipped classroom now, about the flipped classroom, do you think the flipped classroom can improve the quality of teaching and learning in schools in Nigeria? Do you think that the flipped classroom can help improve the teaching and learning of our students in Nigeria? And as a school owner or as a teacher, do you think this can work in your school? Do you think it can work? And then lastly, are you ready to implement the flipped classroom? If you're ready to implement the flipped classroom, click on the link in the description to send me a message and join the training. If you can't join you can invite us to come and train your teachers physically. You can have an online training dedicated, specially designed for your teachers, for your school and teachers. And then you can also enroll your teachers, or you as a teacher, you can join the group training, the Flipped Classroom Bootcamp. It's 7 days intensive training. We're going to learn how to create 4 different types of video and how to effectively share it with your students. Trust me, it's going to be a massive one. It's going to be one of the best decisions you can ever make in your teaching career. Thank you so much. I hope with this video I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that the flipped classroom is a new way, is a 21st century method of teaching that we all must adapt to, and what embrace. And I hope this answer all your questions you have on that flipped classroom. And if you still have more questions, you can always send me a message on WhatsApp 091 54667467, or just click on the link in the description and to send me a message. All right, thank you so much and have a fantastic day ahead. I remember my humble self, Abdelatif, the flipped classroom expert, and I'm committed to equipping you with all you need to effectively integrate technology into the teaching and learning in your school. Thank you.